All right, let's talk about this tax plan because, hey, President Biden now is back home from Europe and wants to turn the page on that somewhat. The end ended up being kind of a bit of a disaster. The beginning started out well enough, but now we got to turn back to the American people, right? We want to help you. And one way we're going to help you is to tax billionaires. We're getting more details this morning about this new billionaire tax plan and just how crazy it actually is.
All right. So why do you care, right? I'm presuming that the majority of us are not billionaires. And so
except for Philip. Philip, we've established, is a billionaire.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And Elon Musk, who's in the chat.
Right.
He probably has many things to say about this. Why do we care? Is because it is taxation creep. And let me explain. So the White House is calling this a billionaire minimum income tax. And so what it would do was take anyone with $100 million or more in assets whose effective tax rate in any year is less than 20%. Well, these taxpayers already pay 23.8% on capital gains, and then 37% on ordinary income. So we spoke about this yesterday because I was confused, right? If you are a high earner, you already are taxed at 37%. So what is it you have that isn't making this 20% threshold? Capital gains are taxed at 15%, but the Wall Street Journal makes the point that the effective tax rate of capital gains on wealthy people is 23.8%. So what is missing? If your income is already taxed above close to 40%, and you're paying on capital gains, what there is less than 20%? Well, here it is. It's unrealized gains, right? We talked about this a lot last fall and it kind of fell off our radar. It's whatever you have that you may have invested in that is not liquid, that has equity in it. They want you to report it, report what it's worth now, and pay off your taxes on it. Okay, well, do we care about that? What happens if you have a gain in it one year and a loss the next year? For some reason, the value of that asset plummets. Do you get the money back, or do you get a refund on your taxes? Is the government then going to pay us on things we've lost on already? In which case, presumably there's a lot of things worth less since the pandemic, right? So then a lot of people will be getting less. Recall that taxation for the United States started at a flat 3%, and we were told that it would only be to pay for the Civil War, right? But then Congress enacted a permanent income tax, and it never has gone away. These type of things, they start with as a talking point as for the wealthy, right? But they eventually do trickle down. And think about what a nightmare that is to report everything you've got. Think about how many people who are going to find out that this applies to them that they didn't know about. It just seems to me very draconian and it's like reaching in, like fingers in the cookie jar.
Well, and that's one of the big problems with it, right? So a direct tax. One of the big problems with this is that a direct tax is actually unconstitutional.
Yes.
So good luck trying to enforce this. Like a direct tax on U.S. citizens, so whether or not this even holds up in a Supreme Court, whether or not we go through the court process, a direct tax, right, is hard to actually implement because with the exception, of course, of income taxes. The legal experts say basically a wealth tax would be a specific direct tax, which would require some sort of a form of implementation so complex as to be totally unworkable. Another big piece of this is that it's very hard to assess value for wealth. So how the hell are you going to figure out real estate holdings or what the value of a person's company is? Good luck. I mean, even asking us or even your father, what is the value of your company?
Right.
How are you? And then, of course, notoriously, wealthy business owners are going to downplay the value of said company. Look at the Trump Look what the Trumps did, right? To downplay the value of the
they're involved in federal investigation because of it.
So how many more federal investigations are we going to have because all of these businesses now try to say that, no, my company's not worth $50 million. It's only worth $10.
Yes.
And who's going to say? Is the federal government going to make its business? Is Elizabeth Warren going to make it her daily business to go in and try to assess based on what the value of said company? This is why, focusing on this garbage when you could actually be doing something to help the American people by rewriting the tax code properly or simplifying the tax code. Instead, You just want to add layer after layer of complexity that's frankly unenforceable.
You know what? It makes me feel like I'm plugged into the matrix. Like, let's just take from anybody who's born into our system, right? Because if you are born on American soil or born to an American family, you are a taxpayer no matter what until you die. Till death do you part with the American government. That no other country in the world does that except one. And that country is a small island that taxes a flat 2%, even if you don't live there, right? So they are always trying to reach into whoever. In fact, Boris Johnson famously didn't know that he still had to file taxes in America because he was born on American soil. He had a condo that he sold. He was trying to pay taxes on in the UK, and the United States said, no, you're an American, you pay taxes on that here. So and then he went through and actually expatriated. Most people don't know that. So he might have the money to pay all those fines he just got slapped with for having parties. If he had not had to pay such a high tax bill in the United States. So, they're saying that this would rake in close to $360 billion over 10 years. And it's like, there's no responsibility here on the part of the government. Just 2 weeks ago, the government had to pass legislation to increase the debt limit, right? So the United States is operating where it spends more than it takes in. And that is our problem somehow. So we have to pay more because the United States just keeps spending and spending and spending. So we need to launch harsher and harsher taxation rules. I just find this so upsetting and uncomfortable.
That's why I agree with Elon Musk. He's like, why would I want to give the U.S. government the most inefficient, like it's like giving a kid with a candy problem the keys to the checkbook and say, here you go.
Yeah.
Just go get as much candy as you want. Like, don't worry about how much what the balance is. Like, they're so inefficient, and we're gonna like give them more money to waste.
Yeah.
Well, I think they know that this doesn't work. They know it can't work. They're not actually interested in implementing this.
No, it's all politics.
Yeah, it's all politics. It's the big. I mean, that's why they do stuff like this. It's like they say, oh yeah, we're gonna tax the rich at 20%, and it's gonna be this direct illegal tax that can never possibly happen and would require like an amendment to the Constitution to even work. But we're gonna talk about it because it's signaling to their base. It makes
virtue
it look
signaling.
like yeah, exactly.
It's Elizabeth Warren virtue signaling. And of course, the midterm elections are coming up, and they can be seen to have been standing for something, right? That's why you're seeing a flurry of new legislation being floated around lately, like this idea of passing gas stimulus checks, right? Because, hey, midterm elections are coming up, and I don't want my star hitched to that Biden wagon. I'm putting forth a gas stimulus. That's what I'm doing for you in my district. The New York Times took an interesting bent on this. They say that this is an interesting trick that what the Biden administration is trying to do. They're saying, here's the neat trick of Biden's billionaire tax. And what Peter Coy is saying is that the president is trying to pull off a neat trick with the so-called billionaire tax to raise taxes on wealthy without directly taxing the wealth. The 16th Amendment, he says, the U.S. Constitution gives Congress power to lay and collect taxes on incomes. Wealth is not income. So courts have found that straight-ahead wealth taxes are unconstitutional. By doing this, though, it gets around that large obstacle by taxing billionaires on the increase in their wealth. That gain, the administration argues, can be considered income. And he uses this example. If your horse farm or your Renoir painting doubles in value, that increase can be thought of as income, just like wages from flipping burgers, even if you don't realize the gain by selling it. So, great. Who the hell in the administration? The SEC can't even bring down Bernie Madoff. Literally, people warned the SEC about Bernie Madoff, and they did nothing about it. You mean to tell me there's going to be some sort of an office set up, or maybe even the current infrastructure, that's going to be assessing businesses' future wealth and going after them?
This would be lawsuit after lawsuit.
This
especially
is never going to happen.
Like your Renoir now, who we have on staff, a bunch of art experts who will tell you what that's worth. Yes, I don't think that this has much hope of passing, and if it does, it will be litigated heavily. But I do think that the intention there is what should be so concerning. It's just interesting that people have this idea that if they just work hard enough, they can be wealthy, that they can get where they want to be. Wealth is like the American dream, right? But then those people who achieve it we lynch them for it, and we want to just say it as talking points. Like, look at all those people. They're fine and you're not. Vote for me because I'm on your side and not theirs, right? And it's such a stinking ruse.
If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, we have a membership program. For the price of a cup of coffee once a month, you can support independent journalism just by going to morninginvest.com/join.
You get access to exclusive videos, plus the ability to join and chat with us live. We really appreciate your subscription, and you are supporting independent journalism.